What is going on, guys? Thanks for checking out this video, my sports Gematria. In this video, I'm going to go over a UFC event for Saturday, November 12th, 2022. I'm going to show you highlights of each side, and it's going to be up to you to determine who you think will win based on the numbers. I encourage you to add additional information on top of this if needed for you to feel confident in your own pick. And I wish you guys the best of luck on all your picks for this event. Let's go ahead and get into the event that I'm going to be looking at. It's going to be UFC 281, Adesanya versus Pereira. I'm going to butcher these guys' names. I apologize. I'm going to be looking at all 5 fights for the pay-per-view. So we got the main event, the co-main event, Dustin versus Michael, Frankie versus Chris, Dan versus Claudio. We're going to look at all 5 of those fights. I just put these numbers together, so bear with me. I haven't properly gone over all of them. But on this side of the screen, right here, this side of the screen is what I call my daily numbers, date numerology, Gregorian Hebrew calendar. And then on this side of the screen is what I call my game numbers specific to the game. The name of the event up top, I spell out the number of the event, 281, right here. The location, the stadium, the city and state. Right here is the weight class of the particular fight. And then I have one fighter right here, his name Gematria, his birthday, to and from, fight record, any type of win or losing streak that he may be on, as well as his UFC record individually. In the middle is the head-to-head for the last names. And then at the bottom is the other fighter, his name Gematria, his birthday, to and from, his fight record, any type of win or losing streak that he's on, as well as his UFC record. So let's scroll down to the first fight that we're going to look at and get started with. Claudio Puellas. Did I spell that last name right? 2 L's? Yeah, 2 L's, Puellas. Okay. So we're going to look at this first fight here. Claudio. I don't know why I'm having trouble pronouncing this. Claudio Puellas. And Dan Hooker. That's not hard to pronounce, Dan Hooker. So let's look at this first fight. Bear with me on the name pronunciations. All right, so Claudio versus Dan. Who's going to win this fight? Now, like I said, I just kind of put these numbers together. I just pulled the birthdays to and from, so I haven't properly looked over these just yet. But we are going to start with Claudio. Some numbers for him to win, and then we're going to go over some numbers for Dan Hooker. So starting with Claudio, one thing that stuck out to me for him is his birthday is on 4/21 or 21/4, however you want to look at it. And with an upset here, with an upset win, he could become 14-2 for a record in his career. 142, 421. They're just anagrams of each other. So his record for his career could become his birth date. Same numbers being used. 205, 206 days since his 26th birthday. Nothing jumps out at me at that. He could become 6-1 or 5-2 for a UFC record. If he would become 6-1, like 61, the 18th prime, it is the 18th day on the Hebrew side of the calendars. 18th day for the current month. 61, the 18th prime number. He can get his 6th win in a row as he gets his 6th UFC fight win for his career. In his 16th fight overall for his career. The number 6 right now, if you write out number 6, it sums to 16. It will be a day with 11 date numerology on the Gregorian. Dan Hooker, he can sit on 11 UFC wins with the loss. It could become 11-9 for a UFC record. 119 is an interesting number, just considering that they are fighting in New York. 11-9, 9-11 number is kind of New York and the number 911 kind of go hand in hand. So with this fight being in New York, Dan Hooker could become 11-9. What else? He could get his third loss in a row. Claudio is a young guy, 26 years old. The 206th day of his 26-year-old age. This is interesting. 205 or a total span of 206 days since his birthday. And this event taking place in Madison Square Garden, which sums to 205. Maybe do that like in a bright yellow. What else? I don't know. I don't really see anything else, I guess. Speaking of birthdays, Dan Hooker, he was February 13, 2/13 or 13/2. He could become 21-13 for a fight record in his career. Maybe this is a birthday thing. Claudio, 4-4/21, could become 14-2 with the win. Anagrams of his birthday. As Dan Hooker, 2/13, could become 21-13 with the loss. 2-1-1-3, 2-1-3. Similar numbers being used, anagram. So it could be a birthday thing for an upset here for Claudio to beat Hooker. If we were to switch gears, if we were to look at some numbers here for Dan Hooker to win this fight, I would point to the Hebrew civil calendar for this one. This will be a lightweight fight. Lightweight sums to 128 and 52. Dan Hooker could become 12-8, like 128 for a UFC record with the win, as Claudio becomes 5-2, like 52 with the loss, this being a lightweight battle. It will be the 18th day of the second month on the Hebrew civil calendar, 182, 128. They're just anagrams of each other. Lightweight 128, Dan Hooker could become 12-8 on the 18th day of the second month for the Hebrew civil calendar. This is UFC 281, 128, 18/2. These are all just anagrams of each other. My bias number is what I call it. But this will be the 48th day for the Hebrew civil year. 48th day. Claudio Puellas sums to 223, which is the 48th prime number. And if you write out the number 48, 48 sums to 133. Also sums to 61, which could be a good thing for Claudio. But it also sums to 133, and he could become 13-3 for a fight record in his career with a loss. And then Claudio could become 5-2 for a UFC record with a loss as he ends his 5-fight winning streak, as Dan Hooker ends his 2-fight losing streak, 5-2, 2-5. Dan Hooker getting his 22nd win. Not sure what that could contribute to. Let's write out 22. Maybe the 78. 22 sums to 78. This fight taking place in New York, which sums to 78, or New York, which also sums to 78. So that's what I would put for his numbers. So that's the numbers for this fight, Dan Hooker and Claudio Puellas, both sides for you right there. Let's go ahead and move on to the next fight. Frankie Edgar versus Chris Gutierrez. Excuse me. Chris Gutierrez, as my guess is how it's pronounced. So Frankie Edgar versus Chris Gutierrez. And yeah, so let's start with Chris Gutierrez. What would it look like for Chris Gutierrez to win this fight? Interesting enough, he has the same connection as Claudio has. 205 days since his birthday. This fight taking place in Madison Square Garden, 205. Well, Chris Gutierrez, it's the 205th day of his current age. Go ahead and do that in a bright yellow. This fight taking place in Madison Square Garden, 205. It is the 281st UFC event, 18th day of the second month for the Hebrew Civil. We'll get to the downside for Chris Gutierrez. But this is a day with 45 date numerology on the Gregorian. 45, if you write it out, sums to 117. Chris Gutierrez could become 711 for a UFC record in his career with a win. 711 is just a reflection of 117. Oh, Edgar versus Gutierrez also sums to 205. Wow, that's interesting. So Madison Square Garden, 205. Edgar versus Gutierrez, 205. It being the 205th day of Chris Gutierrez's current age. Chris is the slight favorite in this one, I believe. 230, I guess, slight favorite for a fighting match. Frankie Edgar, he can get his 11th loss for his career as he gets his 11th loss for his UFC record as well. It will be a day with 11 date numerology on the Gregorian. What else? Chris Gutierrez, he could become 19-3-2 for a fight record in his career as he gets his 4th win in a row. If we kind of ignore the tiebreakers here and we just look at the win and the loss, the 19 and the 3, 193 is the 44th prime number. And so he can get that 4th win in a row as it becomes 19-3-2 for a fight record. But that 193 is the 44th prime number. What else? Edgar would get his 3rd loss in a row if that were to happen. 4-3-3-4. I'm not sure if that points to anything. I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it for right now. Chris Gutierrez, he has that 7-1-1, that 19-3, get his 4th win. Frankie has the 11s going against him. And then Chris has this interesting birthday connection, 205. Edgar versus Gutierrez, 205. This event taking place in Madison Square Garden, 205. All right, so looking at Frankie Edgar, what are some things here for Frankie Edgar to potentially win this matchup? Well, we have to go back right to the number 45, 45 date numerology on the Gregorian. I talked about 45 summing to 117, a reflection of 711, which is what Chris could become, 711 for a UFC record with a win. But with that being said, I also have to mention that 45 also sums to 126. And he could become 6-2-1 for a UFC record with a loss. 6-2-1 is just a reflection of 126. And this is the UFC 281. It is taking place on the 18th day of the second month. Like 182, 281 are just anagrams of each other. Chris Gutierrez, this is kind of abnormal way to look at this, but he could sit at 18 wins with a loss as he sits on 2 ties or 2 draws, getting his 4th loss. And you can just kind of see that 18-2 in there, that 182. But you would have to skip over the number 4 to do it. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much weight that would hold. I mean, you see the 18, you see the 2. It is the 18th day of the second month. It is UFC 281. So you see the numbers there, but with that 4 being in the middle, I don't know. I don't know how much weight I would put on it, if any at all. But it is there. It is there. What else? Frankie Edgar get his 24th win for his career. I'm not sure what I can connect that to. 24, 103, 27. Okay, so we can connect this with his birthday. 24 written out sums to 103, the 27th prime. And it is 27 days since his last birthday. So we can just do like a light blue with the 24. 27 days since his 41st birthday. Actually, you know what? We can mark the 41 in a light blue as well. and then we'll mark the 19 in a light blue. So we'll say 27 days since Frankie Edgar's 41st birthday. He can get his 24th win for his career. 24 sums to 103, the 27th prime number, as he gets his 19th UFC win for his career. And if you write out the number 19, I'm sure you can guess it sums to 41. That kind of does it. He would get his 24th win, ending his 2-fight losing streak as. Oh no, he would. Never mind. I was gonna say 2-4, but it would be ending his 3. So it'd be 3-2, 2-3. Never mind. Never mind. Never mind. I think that's it, really. So for Frankie Edgar, it's at 27-41. So it's a birthday connection for Frankie Edgar for the 24th win and his 19th UFC win. For Chris Gutierrez, his UFC record could go either way, 7-1-1 or 6-2-1. It goes either way. But he could get that 19-3, the 44th prime, as he gets his 4th win in a row. One thing I should mention, it is his 24th fight for his career. We'll go ahead and mark that a light blue. And then he has this 205 connection, 205th day of his age. Edgar versus Gutierrez, 205. Madison Square Garden, 205. Yeah. What's another interesting thing for Chris Gutierrez? His name sums to 192. And this fight is going to be taking place in New York. And I'm pretty sure that by the time this event's over, it's going to be in the AMs in some parts of the world. Tomorrow will be the 19th day of the second month for the Hebrew Civil. Chris Gutierrez, 192. It'd be in the 18th day of the second month when the event starts. UFC 281. But that's kind of a glance for. I didn't even move the ticker over. My bad. Sorry about that. But let's move on to the next fight. Let's go to Dustin Poirier. I'm so bad at this. Dustin Poirier, or Michael Chandler. I'm so lame when it comes to enunciations. I suck so bad. I'm a loser when it comes to that shit. Let's try it one more time. Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier. Michael Chandler. Okay. Poirier versus Chandler. And as you can see, I don't have anything marked on this one, really. Like I said, I just put this stuff together and I'm making a video on it. So I'm just kind of doing this as I go. But let's start with Michael Chandler. We'll start with the bottom guy here first. What would it take for Michael Chandler to win this fight? I don't know. We're going to find out. Let's look at some of these numbers here. He could get his 24th win or his 8th loss. He could become 3-2 or 2-3. Dustin Poirier could be 28-8 or he could be 20-7. Shit, I don't know. I guess you can say if Michael was going to do an upset here, this is Dustin's 28th UFC fight for his career. He could sit on 28 wins for his career with a loss, as he sits on 20 UFC wins with the loss. If you write out the number 20, it sums to 28. It also sums to 107, the 28th prime. So maybe this is like a game numbers connection here. 28th UFC fight. He can sit on 28 wins for his career as he sits on 20 wins UFC. 20 sums to 28. This is UFC 281. If you write out the number 281, it sums to 27-3 or 273. And this is Dustin's 37th fight. He can get his second loss in a row, 273. 372, 273, just reflections of each other. So I can actually probably mark that in like a bright yellow for the event numbers. Put a 37 there and a 2 here. 372, 273, UFC 281, sums to 273. 24/7. 24/7. I don't know. Not too sure on that one. I don't know. For Michael, I don't know. Numbers wise, I don't see anything really. Nothing that. Well, he comes in 23/7. Okay, so 281 sums to 273. Dustin Poirier, 37th fight, get a second loss in a row. 372, 273. They're just reflections of each other. Michael Chandler comes into this fight 23-7. Another enneagram to add to it. But for the 24, I'm not too sure. His 24th win, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure what that would look like. You know, one thing I can say, though, for 24, though, and you can also say it for Frankie Edgar, too, if you wanted to, with the 24. If you write out 24, it sums to 167, the 39th prime number. And this is kind of a long ways to go to kind of make this connection, but 39 does sum to 128. This is the 18th day of the second month of the Hebrew Civil, like 182. And this is UFC 281. These are all anagrams of each other. So maybe it's a little long-winded. But something else here I can mark, I'm going to do... no, I'm going to save this. Save that color. Another thing would be New York sums to 39. Okay, 39 sums to 128. 18th day of the second month on the Hebrew. UFC 281. Michael Chandler can get his 24th win for his career. 24 written out sums to 167, the 39th prime. Little long-winded connection, but it is there. It is there. A little long-winded, but it's there. Let's move on to Dustin Poirier. What would it take for him to win this fight? His name sums to 78. This fight taking place in New York, 78. New York, 78. But what's interesting is it's the 297th day, or 297 days since his 33-year-old birthday, and he could become 29-7 for a fight record in his career. He would get his 29th win for his career on a day with 29 date numerology for the Gregorian, potentially. It is a day with 45 date numerology. 45 right now sums to 126. He could become 21-6 for a UFC record to go with 216, 126. They're just anagrams of each other. And then Michael Chandler, it doesn't matter win or lose. I see 0 connections for him. Win or lose. Actually, I take that back. It is going to be 163 days till his next birthday. And he could become 2-3, like 23 for a UFC record with a loss. 23, if you write it out, does sum to 163. So there is a connection there for Michael Chandler, but it is a negative for him. It's not a good thing. 23 or 2-3, 163 days till his next birthday. 23 sums to 163. And then 297 days since Dustin's birthday, he could become 29-7 for a fight record in his career, getting his 29th win on a day with 29 day numerology. And so that's what I would put for both sides of that fight. Let's keep it moving.
Sorry to interrupt this video, you guys, but I need a huge favor from you. Can you go ahead and like this video and leave a comment below on who you think's going to win? It's going to help with the YouTube algorithm. It's going to help grow my channel. I really appreciate you guys being here. Let's go ahead and get back into the video.
Carla Esparza. Carla Esparza versus Zhang Weili or Wiley. Zhang Weili or Wiley, one of the two. But let's start with Zhang Weili or Wiley. For her name sums to 60, and it's UFC event 281. 281 mathematically is the 60th prime number. Her name also sums to 48, and it'll be the 8th day of the second month on the Hebrew Civil, 182, 281, they're just anagrams. The 48th day of the Hebrew Civil year. So her name, full name, hits the Hebrew calendar as well as the event, UFC event, 281, the 60th prime number. And it's 91 or 92 days since her 33rd birthday. 92. Let's see, 92. No, it doesn't. I was thinking it was something else. 91. Okay. Never mind. Scratch that. I was thinking it summed to 51 because then I can just say 2, 3. She could become 23, 3, the 51st prime number, but it doesn't sum to 51. No, it doesn't. So 91, 92 days since her 33rd birthday. This is her 26th fight. And so she can get her second win in a row as she ends Carla Esparza's 6-fight winning streak. 6-2, 2-6, like 26, 2-6, 6-2, 26 fight for Zhang. We'll just do that in a dark blue for right now. This is UFC 281. 281 written out sums to 105. And Carla Esparza could become 10-5 for a UFC record with a loss, like 105. Um, 72. This could be a Hebrew connection, actually. Let's write out 72 if I remember correctly. Yeah, so 72 sums to 48. And it is the 48th day on the Hebrew civil calendar, the 8th day of the second month. This being UFC event 281, 182 anagrams, 281 the 60th prime. Zhang Weili sums to 60 and 48. She could become 7-2 for a UFC record with a win. But with that being said, Zhang Weili sums to 114. And Carla Esparza could become 11-4 for a UFC record with a win, kind of like 114. And today does have 45 date numerology on the Gregorian. 45 sums to 126. Carla Esparza she could become 21-6 for a fight record in her career with a win. 216 is just an anagram of 126. On top of that, this is Zhang Weili's 26th fight, where she can enter one fight winning streak, 261, as Carla Esparza becomes 216. On a day with 45 date numerology, 45 sums to 126. Her name, Carla Esparza, sums to 77. It could be a reason why she gets her 7th win in a row, but at the same time, it could be a reason why she gets her 7th loss for her career. That's a double-edged sword for that one. But in her 27th fight, she can get her 7th win in a row. This could be a mathematical thing. 277, 27th fight, get her 7th win in a row. 277 is the 59th prime number. 59 is the 17th prime number. 17 is the 7th prime number. So it could be long-winded in that connection. It's been 33 or a total span of 34 days since her 35th birthday. That's an interesting connection. 33, 34, 35. Not sure if that means a good thing or a bad thing, but it is kind of interesting. And New York 33. I think that's it. Oh, you know what else is interesting? Madison Square Garden sums to 308, and I just now noticed this. It's a day leaving 308 left in the Hebrew civil calendar. The Hebrew civil is really lined up with this event. 182, UFC 281, in Madison Square Garden 308, on a day leaving 308 left. Fascinating. Fascinating, fascinating. But yeah, so I think that's it for both sides for right now on this one. Yeah. Let's keep it moving. Let's go to the main event. The main event. Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira. Pereira. Man, I'm so terrible at this. I'm sorry, guys. All right, let's start with Alex. Alex Pereira. His name sums to 60. This being UFC 281, the 60th prime number. On the 18th day of the second month for the Hebrew Civil, 182, 281, they're just anagrams of each other. Adesanya versus Peoria sums to 105. This will be UFC 281, which sums to 105. 114th day of Israel Adesanya's current 33-year-old age. Alex Pereira sums to 114. With the 114 here, the 114 here, maybe it might be a good look for Carla Espinosa to become 11-4 against Zhang, which sums to 114. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. But Alex Pereira, it's 128 days since his 35th birthday. And that's interesting, I think. Right? 18th day of the second month for the Hebrew Civil, like 182. The UFC 281, 281, 182 anagrams. 128 days since his 35th birthday. 128 also falls into that anagram. But even more interesting is 35 written out comes to 128. So 128 days since his 35th birthday, or total span of 129. This fight will probably take place around midnight, and it'll most likely be the next day, which will be the 19th day of the second month, like 192, 129, 192 anagrams, 128, 129 anagrams of 192 and 182. I mean, that's all fine and well, but let's look at some numbers here for him to win. Like, what is there anything pointing to him for to win? I'm trying to find them. I'm making interesting connections, but they're not pointing to a win or a loss. 273 days till his upcoming birthday. 281. It sums to 273. 237, 273. There's anagrams. So I'm finding interesting connections, but again, no win or loss pointing to it. He's looking for a 7th win in a row. Okay, so this could be something. He can get his 7th win in a row. He was born on July 7th, 7/7. Get his 7th win in a row. That's something, a little bit, you know. Yeah, but that's the 71 would work for the Gregorian. Actually, if he becomes 7-1 for a fight record with the win, like 71, that actually goes with the Gregorian. 71 written out. Sums to 45 and 126. So it'll be a day with 45 date numerology on the Gregorian. 45 does sum to 126 as well. So he could become 7-1 like 71 for a fight record in his career. Getting his 7th win in a row. The man born on 7/7. He was born in the year 1987. This is his 8th fight. Could get his 7th win in a row, get his 7th win for his career. 7/7/87. 8th fight, could get his 7th win in a row. 8/7/7/8. So that's kind of interesting right there. Adesanya versus Pereira. I think I already mentioned that, the 105. There you go, 273, 237. And then for Israel Adesanya, one thing that I already jotted up prior was he could become 12-2 with a loss, 12-2, like 122. His name, Israel Adesanya, does sum to 53. 53, if you write it out, does sum to 122, but it's a double-edged sword because he can just as easily become 24-1 for a fight record in his career, like 241. And 241 is the 53rd prime number. So you have to decide what 53 connection is it? Is it the 122 for a UFC record with a loss? Or is it 24-1 for a fight record in his career with a win? 241, the 53rd prime number. If we were to switch gears here and look over some Israel Adesanya numbers for him to win, one thing we can say is it does have 11 date numerology on the Gregorian, and Alex can become 3-1, like 31 for a UFC record with a loss. 31 is the 11th prime number. Israel Adesanya could become 13-1 for a UFC record with a win. 113 days since his 33rd birthday. 113 and 131. They're just anagrams of each other. 113, 131. That's just anagrams of each other right there. And then he could become 24-1. His name sums to 53. 241, the 53rd prime. Alex Pereira, 6-2. So it's 62. Nothing jumps out there. I think that might be it. Yeah, I think that might be it for right now. Oh, one last thing that actually goes against Israel Adesanya. 252 or a total span of 253 days until his next birthday and his 25th fight. He can end his 3-fight winning streak, 253, 253. That could be a bad thing for Israel Adesanya. But yeah, so that's what I have. I mean, Israel Adesanya could have that 53, that 24-1 in his favor, or the 71 in Alex's favor, and that 53 can go against him with his UFC record, that 12-2, excuse me. And yeah, that's what I have. So I don't know. Hopefully this helps. Hopefully this gives you some insight to this event. I really appreciate you guys watching. I really appreciate the support. Hopefully this adds to your decode, gets you started on a decode, gives you a quick overview of this fight. I think it's ultimately the most fascinating part of all of this is that it's my bias number, UFC 281 on the 18th day of the second month for the Hebrew Civil, 182, 281, a day leaving 308 left, and it's taking place in Madison Square Garden, 308, which is just fascinating. It's just absolutely fascinating to me. Hebrew calendar, man. Hebrew calendar always has like the most interesting connections, in my opinion. Gregorian has some connections too. There's a lot of connections with Gregorian, but over the years, Hebrew calendar has just produced some of the more fascinating connections, in my opinion. Very direct connections too. Very direct connections. Yeah, I thank you for watching, guys. I really appreciate the support. I really appreciate you guys watching. Hopefully you win all the money in the world, and I will see you guys in the next video.